Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll go ahead and get started. If this is your first event with the chapter, welcome. We're so glad you've decided to spend some time with us this month. If you're a returning attendee, thank you so much for coming back, and we are super glad to have you tonight. My name is Kelly. I'm a volunteer with the Central Indiana chapter of the Project Management Institute, and I will be your MC this evening. Our chapter exists to move our members from where they are to where they want to be in their professional careers. So whether you are already a chapter member with us or you are still considering membership, we hope that you gain some valuable information and connection from tonight's event. I'm going to try and advance our slide here to the next one. We have a couple of announcements for you guys. Congratulations to anybody joining us tonight who is newly certified with PMI. Make sure to share with us in the chat box over on the right side of your screen so that we can celebrate with you. Our wonderful chat moderators are here to assist you throughout tonight's event. If you need technical assistance or if you have a question for our speaker tonight, please enter it into the chat box and our moderators will queue up the questions for Michael to answer during his presentation. Tonight's formal program will conclude at 7 p.m., but we invite you to stick around for about a half hour following the conclusion for some informal networking. Also, please remember to complete tonight's event survey following the program. We will be sharing the link for that towards the conclusion of tonight's event. Your feedback helps ensure that we continue to create monthly programs to serve you, our members. One more reminder, please just respect the work of the presenter tonight and review the copyright and disclaimers that you see here on the screen. All right, it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker, Michael Burton. Michael is the CEO at Lev, a premier digital consultancy that connects brands with their customers through Salesforce products. Michael most recently grew Lev to a $40 million organization in less than 4 years, leading to Lev's acquisition by Cognizant earlier this year. A more personal note here, Michael also happens to lead an organization with a fairly large PMO, which I am really proud to be a part of. Since joining Lev as a PMO manager last year, I've continued to be impressed by Michael's passion and dedication to the Lev employees and culture. I admire his willingness to be open and transparent with all the Levsters, especially in his Ask Me Anything channel on Slack. And he never shies away from an opportunity to confront a question or share something personal on his very active LinkedIn profile. I am absolutely thrilled that he's taking the time to speak with us tonight. So let me welcome and turn it over to our presenter this evening, Michael Burton.
Thanks, Kelly. I really appreciate it. It's great to be here. I'm feeling a little guilty. I was a project manager. I was PMP certified. I let it lapse, and now I'm in front of all of you and thinking I should not have let that lapse. I need to go back. I got to get studying, but my background has been a lot in project management, kind of early in my career, and still closely work. Clearly, I'm in the services business, so doing lots of project work with all of our customers here at Lev. So thanks for the time tonight. This is not a topic that I like formally talk about. So this only comes up in casual conversations when people want to go have coffee with me and they're interested in what's going on with what I'm promoting as far as my personal brand and with Lev in general. So I've tried to take some good lessons learned and hopefully it's value to you. So as Kelly mentioned, I'm the CEO of Lev. And I want to clarify, I'm definitely not a social media expert. So there's gonna be a lot of other people. In fact, I can see a couple of people that are here today that have a lot more experience with social media. So this is me just kind of giving you my own experience and what it's been like to build our personal brand and then how to leverage that personal brand with Lev, which is very much entwined. So please, as other people have asked or shared, if you have questions throughout, fire away. I know it's virtual, it can be a little weird, but if you have questions, jump in. We'll also leave plenty of time at the end for questions as we kind of dig into some of the content here. So just really high level, kind of what am I doing? So I'm going to talk about Lev in just a moment, and I'll explain why I'm talking about Lev, which is a business and how that connects to a personal brand. I'll share a little bit about my own personal brand journey, how it's evolved, and the different types of personal brand that are out there, what it's meant for me personally. For me, more importantly, it's what it's meant for the Lev brand and how we've gone to market. And I think I'll spend a good amount of time just talking about like how do you build an authentic brand? You have to like, how do you be genuine? How do you come across not as being truly marketing yourself, but actually giving? I'll go through a few examples. And hopefully I won't read through all the examples, but I'm just going to be pulling some up just to give you an idea of the kind of content I write. I'll talk about the platforms. And then kind of leading to that is like, if you want to go out and you're really interested in starting your own personal brand, publicly facing personal brand, like how can you get started? And what are some of the key takeaways from this meeting today? So that's what I hope to accomplish. So let me talk about Lev and why Lev is important. So Kelly mentioned we are a marketing focused Salesforce consultancy. That means we're helping some of the biggest brands in the world solve some very complex marketing problems. Most recently, we've helped Disney services, Disney Plus, launch across the globe, just tons of marketing problems that we're trying to acquire new customers and retain those customers. But that's what we focus very much on helping marketers. So brand is really important to our world, and so is personal brand as well. A little bit about Lev. Lev is, I won't go the full history. I can say I came to Lev in 2016 to kind of start a marketing cloud practice. I did not come over as a CEO. We quickly grew from just a few people to where I think we're about 230 people based here in Indianapolis. Although we have Levsters, as Kelly said, we call them Levsters, Levisphere. We love our puns for sure. And we're spread out across the entire US, but a lot of roots here in Indianapolis and Central Indiana. We talk about a lot about like who we are. And I put this up here because it does tie back into brand in a second, which is, so these are some of the characteristics which are important to Lev and to me, like being open, being really clear with action, helping each other, appreciating each other, and having a lot of fun. And I bring these up here because a lot of these do tie back into what my personal brand is and how I'm connected back to Lev. And I think for this conversation, you can look at personal brand at an individual level and the benefits that it can bring to you. But I'm also going to talk more so even about what are the benefits that my own personal brand brought to Lev and how they are very much entwined at this point. Almost weirdly, how close my life and Lev is connected. My wife Jenny sometimes gets a little annoyed. I think I try to wear a Lev shirt almost every day. So let me spend some time talking about what exactly is personal brand, and I'll talk about the two different types. So this has been my career for the last 7 or 8 years, all doing pretty much the same thing, which is helping marketers solve problems with Salesforce. Salesforce was Marketing Cloud was originally ExactTarget based here in Indianapolis. Like I joined in 2012 or 2013. But in every single one of these logos, I've been helping marketers leverage Salesforce just in very different ways. And ExactTarget was the first area where I actually heard the team talk about building your own personal brand. And it made sense. Like we're marketers, we're spending time helping marketers. And I asked a lot of questions. What does that mean by personal brand? In that world, personal brand was all about what are you doing to build up your reputation inside of ExactTarget? What kind of customers are you working with? It's almost like your internal resume, yet credibility, that reputation. And that's how we looked at it. So when we were looking at performance, individual performance, we spent a lot of time talking about what's your personal brand and what did you do to build that personal brand. That theme carried out through Salesforce. And then ultimately I landed at Lev. We used to be called Levimentum. That is very difficult to say, and hard to put puns together. So Lev is a much easier place for us to build our pun network. And at Lev, when I came over here, I kind of took that concept of what was the internal personal brand, and I thought, how can I leverage that internal personal brand to turn it into public facing, and then how can Lev benefit from that public brand? How can I benefit as well as an individual? And that's where I'll spend some time here in just a second kind of talking. But that's kind of been my career path, mostly been in services, leading consultants. And I decided back, I remember, I think it might have been like April of 2017, because if you kind of take a step back here, when I came over to Lev, again, we're starting a practice from the ground up and basically reinventing what was Levimentum, almost taking an existing business and deciding to go into a very different direction. And it's like giving, like restarting what was an existing business and going a different direction. So really challenging. And we had to figure out, like, how do we start getting more market share? How do we raise awareness about Lev is and who we are? So I remember I'd been at Lev for a little over a year. We'd had good success in the first year. I was happy with it, but we wanted to figure out how, and I personally want to figure out how could we drive even more. And I was looking at what was going on with LinkedIn as a platform and saying, hey, this could be an avenue to be able to generate more interest and more exposure for Lev. So how do I go back? How do I go and do that? I had no experience doing it. Still wasn't a social media expert then. I'm still not a social media expert. And I was on a plane to New York going to a conference. And this is the very first article I wrote. So I'd posted on LinkedIn before, but this was the very first time where I decided, hey, I want to be intentional about creating an external public personal brand for me that I could then use for Lev to be able to drive some more. So I remember I Googled what are good LinkedIn posts, and you'll hear a lot of the, hey, give top 10 list, keep it short, give some images. So I think I tried to cram every single thing I read into one article. It was okay. It was okay. But this is where we started originally and said, this is where I want to at least start to experiment with creating that public brand. So in a moment, I'm going to talk about, like, how do you go about creating a public brand? But first, I want to spend more time talking about what are the benefits? Like, what are the benefits to you as an individual? And what can be the benefits to the organizations that you're a part of when they're leveraging your own personal brand? Because I think this is where it becomes very powerful. So I'm going to spend just a minute on the benefits for me, because personally, I was much more interested in the benefits for Lev, but using my own personal brand as kind of a platform. So no matter what you're doing, if you're thinking about, you're looking for other opportunities, you want to be able to share a lot more of your knowledge and expertise. Maybe you just like giving back on the things that you've learned. Those are all great benefits for you as an individual when you're building that personal brand that's public facing, because it comes back to you as you kind of build up your network. You get to meet a lot of new people. I just enjoy it. Like, I enjoy kind of sharing stories, things that are lessons learned, mistakes that I've made, and I've gotten a lot of benefit just by sharing that. And I've had a lot of people kind of comment that they appreciate a lot of the insight that I have in just my day-to-day life. So it's good. I'm not going to dismiss it. But really, when I look at why do we do this, I do it for Lev, and there are two reasons why I do it. And one is to allow us to be able to attract a lot of great talent to our organization. So I want to be able to share a lot of the cultural things that we do, a lot of the wins, the customer stories. That is what is incredibly important for me to share, so that we can continue to bring in some of the best people in the world into the Lev business and helping marketers. And we've done that. I mean, I think looking at the people that we've been able to bring in a short period of time, a lot of it's the buzz that we've generated through social media, primarily through LinkedIn, where we've been able to do that. And that's valuable to us. We've only used recruiters twice to place any individual within Lev over the last 5 years. We've been tremendous recruiters, but also leveraging this platform, this kind of personal brand, has been really helpful to do that. And the second thing is, who is our audience? So for me, my world is Salesforce. So it's all about Salesforce is helping us drive new business over to Lev. So my personal brand and leveraging that allows us to be very top of mind with our audience, who is helping us attract new customers every single day. We're part of Cognizant, that's another channel. But this is about being very top of mind to your given audience, which is critical to that personal brand. A couple of other stories. One is, and I'm sharing some things that very few people know. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I would say 95% of what I post, I always use the hashtag #LevLife. And that's even in personal things that I post out there. That actually began, I was kind of giving some of my old Salesforce friends a hard time because they were using hashtag #DreamJob, and truly hashtag #LevLife started as a bit of a joke. And I kind of feel bad about that now because it really is kind of defined who we are, who is our culture. We have signs up everywhere, welcome everyone to #LevLife. So I think that's what's kind of been fun about this, at least my own journey with the personal brand, is you uncover a lot of things that you'll be surprised about. Like you didn't think that certain things would play out. In this case, we've created a whole culture around #LevLife, which is fun to see. The other thing I thought was really interesting from a business standpoint is that we did decide to test the waters in 2019 to look at, should we raise additional investment? Do we become a part of a larger private equity? Do we join a strategic consultancy like Cognizant? And one of the things that just surprised me about a lot of those early conversations was the number of organizations that were interested in Lev because they were aware of us, because what we were posting, like what I was posting, what I was sharing about Lev was filtering to an ecosystem that I had no idea that it was even reaching as far as I thought, which was exciting that people heard about us, they heard about our success stories. And that is for me as the CEO of Lev is really important. So depending on kind of where you are and what your interests are, they can benefit you both individually, which for me, I know that I obviously have a huge benefit by Lev growing and being successful, but I also know that personal brand will be important well beyond my life at Lev. So I have that foundation. But when you can also partner that with the marketing efforts of the organizations that you're in, that is so powerful because people want to connect with other people, like real authentic stories. And that only happens through people. It doesn't happen through Lev posting on LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram. It happens when real people are talking about real things. And that is why, when I think about why I do personal branding, this is why I do that. But here's the trick. You have to do it in an authentic and intentional way. And this is really I find the difficult part when I look at how others are working to build their personal brand and how they start. I think everyone, just like me, when I went out and Googled what's a good LinkedIn article and didn't really know any much more than that. How do I go and do that? So I think one of the ways that I learned really early on was I just have to be me. Like I actually don't even need to worry about what's going to resonate. Where am I going to get the highest level of engagement? I just need to go and be me. So the way I went kind of to be me is, I think that I'm not going to, I put all these out here just so you can kind of get a sense of the kinds of things that you can be posting and writing about. And a little bit, I talk about the kind of platforms and some of the other lessons learned. But I think that the biggest takeaway that I can give to you all is that you have to give. You have to give all the time. Like if you decide that you want to go out and build your personal brand and share it with the world, you have to give. And what I mean by give is that you have to give, you have to be vulnerable. You have to go give knowledge. You have to give up your baggage. You have to give your embarrassing stories. You have to give up your mistakes. It is all about giving. And almost everything I write, I'm thinking about what am I giving to someone else? Right? That's how you get value. That's how you share. That's how you learn, and that's how you give. So if you go through, if you've never seen me on LinkedIn, I'll share some examples here. But I've been very, very real over the past couple of years as I've gotten into this and talking about things like being fired from a job. I've talked about my diagnosis with MS, multiple sclerosis, that I've had for 15 years. I talk a lot about the mistakes I make at Lev, that I've made at other places in my life. I also talk about the great things, the celebration of being a dad and being married to an amazing woman who's also an amazing marketer that helps me every single day as I kind of go down my own journey. But it is being really comfortable with being vulnerable. And then you sprinkle in what's going on professionally. Like a lot of things I'll talk about, just what are wins, what are thought leaderships. I'm always trying to welcome new team members, celebrate them being a part of us. I'm out there actively engaging with other brands and other individuals, but it all comes back to what are you going to give every single day to help kind of build that personal brand? Because when you do that, you get a lot of things in return. And what I can tell you is that when I look at some of my engagement, when I am the most vulnerable, like when I just put everything out there about how I'm really feeling in that moment, that is when I get the highest level of engagement ever. So if I just share something that's a marketing piece, I'll definitely get interest and there'll be people that will share. But when I am the most real and most vulnerable is when I have the most level of engagement, and that benefits everyone. That does purposely allow me to spread my reach and be able to engage with a much larger audience, which in turn we can leverage with Lev every single day in our marketing efforts. So these are just some thought starters as you think about what do you even talk about when you try to build up your personal brand. I just spent a few minutes just kind of writing down things that are really top of mind. And I normally just look and say, what am I thinking of this week? I've done in the past couple of months, I've been very much into meditation and stillness and being thoughtful. And so typically I write more and more about that. I will say, like, I'm not perfect every week. There are some weeks I'll go and I'm not inspired. And that is definitely different than what you might get with other social media experts who talk about needing to post a certain number of times a day or week, or what's the right amount of content and the right amount of words and what's the right mix of images. I frankly, I don't think about it. I really don't. So it's when I'm inspired and when I feel real is really when I share with the world. And what I found for me personally, it's benefited. When I've talked to other people about what's worked well, that's what it really comes down to. So I'm going to pause. We got one question. I'll kind of jump in, and from Casey. So do you consider this a complement to traditional in-person networking? Totally. Yes. I mean, I think for me, there's just for all of us, there's a finite amount of time that we have in the day. So this is a great way to reach a very broad audience of people that you don't know. And the more that you give, the more you do get back. And there are many times when someone has been interacting me, engaging me with for some time, and I've still never met them in person. We have coffee, and they'll say, "Hey, I've read a lot of what you've been posting, and that's incredible. We love that." And so it's given me, I do feel like it's given me an advantage in being able to grow my own personal network at a much larger scale than what I could have ever possibly done just by reaching out. And I can be selective too. I can go out there, I can build up this network and find people who I really want to be with and allow me directly to connect with them. So 100% that's allowed me to network. I'll take another one before I kind of jump on. Is being authentic and real seen as weak to an employer, especially when you're in an interview for a job? I would say if any employer thinks that being vulnerable is weak, my personal opinion, you're in the wrong place. So like the culture that I want to be at is where we're recognizing who we are as people. And that's a new world now. And when I came out of, I maybe have felt that when I came out of school, what feels like many years ago. But right now I feel like everyone is like, how do we improve employee engagement, employee satisfaction? And so that is where I definitely feel like that being authentic is you want to find people who are going to be like that. And I encourage everyone I love to be authentic. Just like Kelly said earlier, I'm very transparent. There's an Ask Me Anything channel, and I welcome. In fact, the more vulnerable and harder questions, I think that the more meaningful the relationships have become. And I use LinkedIn as a format of that as well. Let me do one more here. These are good. Thank you. Thanks for the questions coming in. How do you choose what you share with someone who you are meeting with for the first time? Being maybe vulnerable may be interpreted as so many different ways as a first impression. You know what? I think some of this, this is confidence over time. I don't really care what other people think. I don't. So I know I know what I like. I know what's important in my everyday life. I share what I think. I do what I want. I love the people who I want to love. And I know I found that my life has been so much better and more fulfilling when I've opened myself up and being authentic and vulnerable, which I've done, I mean, more so than I've ever done in the last few years. And it's been truly probably the most satisfying part of my life personally. And it's led to tremendous business success as well by just kind of embracing that. So I'll come back to a couple more questions as I kind of go through this a little bit more, because some of these will tie back into some other conversations. So a couple of things here before I share some more examples, and I'll talk a little bit about getting started. Is some of these are just not lessons learned. Hopefully you can kind of, I don't like to go through all the bullet points, so I'm just going to pick out the things that are most important, some of the biggest lessons learned that I've had, especially as you think about going out and deciding, do you want to do this or not? Are you committed to it? One thing is the importance of context. And what I mean by that is many times in our head, we're walking, we're in the shower, and we're realizing, hey, we want to go share something about ourselves, this personal brand, is that we start writing and we forget the fact that we've got 100 pages of context behind that thought, but you just jump immediately to that thought. And you think it's brilliant. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is great. I feel like this is really going to help me engage, and other people will want this. I'll be giving. And then you post it, and then there's nothing. People are confused by it. And so what I've found is that there's lots of times where I'll be posting and I'm not providing like the context. Like, what was I even thinking? What was the story behind why that was important? Why I wanted to share that? I just jumped to the end point. It was a marathon. I just jumped to mile 26 without kind of giving the other person more insight into what I was thinking. So that's kind of something I still kind of struggle with from time to time, because my mind is always at that end point. So providing context is super important. I definitely have made the mistake of putting customers in certain posts. So I'd be sensitive to that. If you're going out there and you're talking about customer success, or you worked on this customer, sometimes, without approval, I've gotten my hand slapped a couple of times. I always ask for forgiveness. That typically comes through. But I think that is something that just to be aware of, especially if you're in a customer world. And I think the two other comments that I'll say about this is very, very, very tactical, but it's an important lesson. Is if you're on LinkedIn and you have a link, if I will very rarely put a link within my post, and that, I mean, that we're granular right now. But what I can tell you is, as you're starting to build your personal brand, and if you're using a lot of links within your post, and actually the algorithm limits your audience. So one of the tricks that I've learned, I think LinkedIn is catching up a little bit, is if I'm going to reference something, an article that I've read, or if I'm referencing, you need to go sign up to join the PMI meeting this evening. What I'll normally is I'll talk about my post, and then I'll say, hey, look in the comments below. And then that's how we reference it. It's just one of the tricks I've learned over the last couple of years about how do you engage and make sure you can reach your audience. And I'll talk about reaching audience and why I decided to choose LinkedIn in a little bit. And then lastly, kind of because it's so connected back to the brand in which you're a part of, My Life, Love Life, is working along with marketing. I think marketers are very hungry to leverage strong personal brands for anyone, any role. And I'm wasn't always the CEO of Lev. We're using my content. We have no matter if you're a solution architect or if you're a project manager at Lev, we want to be able to leverage that personal brand. So marketers are always eager to say, hey, what content can I give you to help promote? What things they give me great ideas about things that are happening, so I can help use my platform to push out what's going on with Lev. Those are just some things that have come up in the past couple of years. I'll talk about being intentional when I talk about getting started. So just some examples, and I'm going to pull these up, and I know everyone's going to try to read them. I don't know if you all get the decks afterwards. If not, I'm happy to share in another format some of these examples. But I'm really pulling up these examples to give you a sense of the kind of content. Like, what does it look like? Like, really, when I talk about building a public brand and personal brand and putting it out there, like what are the words and what are the images? So that's really why I'm trying to share some of this information. So this is a mix. So on the left-hand side, I was super pumped that our marketing team was able to pull off a miracle and get Lev on the IndyCar, in the last Indy 500, right next to Salesforce. And there's what's interesting about this is that Salesforce doesn't typically, like, if you're going to be branded, I still laugh at this, if you're going to be alongside of them, you have to go through a lot of approval. So we totally snuck this through because we were actually working with the driver. The driver was making decisions about kind of where to place. So to have Lev and Salesforce right there, and then we had some great TV shots of it. So that's something that's just fun. It's personal. It's about Lev. Like that's an example of kind of incorporating images. Another one I kind of talked on the right is just an example of making a mistake, talking about hiring for the future and why that's such an important thing. So this is just kind of give you a visual, and I'll talk through some of these other examples. Left, again, this is me leveraging kind of the personal brand to go out and promote Lev. I've got my handy dandy 8-ball. We did a marketing campaign here, so that's just me kind of leveraging my personal brand to go out and promote. The next one is me on the right, back to a personal one. Like what was top of mind for me? And I was thinking about this incredible mentor. His name is Dan Rudolph, who has frankly been my savior since coming to Lev. He spent 11 years as the very first COO of Stanford Graduate School of Business. Incredibly intelligent person. And so this is me kind of giving back and thanking Dan for just being a great supporter of me. On the left, every Friday, I post Rebecca Black's Friday. I've actually done that at 4 different companies since this song first came out. My team put together a cameo. I'll have to give another link to it, but she did a kind of a custom version of Friday. So fun things like that. On the right, just talking about meditation and why that's so important. So just kind of getting a visual for what it looks like. I talk about things that challenge me. I really struggled with Juneteenth, that period of time in Indy, and what was the right decision for Lev? How do we support our Black Levsters? And I made a lot of mistakes during that period of time. And I went out and I just shared with the world. Like, what was I thinking? What was I feeling? The Lev team was able to see that as well. I talked about counteroffers, why I don't like them. And then another example I mentioned earlier, I talked about like COVID and how much disruption it had in my life. And I lost my grandmother because of it and didn't get to spend time with her to say goodbye. So this is real. So when I just thought this was important for you to all to see, like what does it mean? Like how does it visually look? What kind of content do I write about? And I gave some ideas there earlier on, hopefully to give you just some starting points as you think about building out your own personal brand. So I think that's a good segue. How do you get started? Like, what is it when you decide I want to go out and build a personal brand, and not just about your personal brand, but within your current job, but within out to the public? How do you even think about making that happen? So 3 things I kind of thought through, and these are some of the things that I kind of sat down with before I wrote that very first LinkedIn article and said, okay, how? So the first thing is you gotta understand what is your style? Are you more of a writer? Are you more visual? Who is the audience that you're trying to reach? Is it other like-minded professionals? Is it another segment completely? Is it for business reasons? So certain types of customers, but you've got to figure out who are you actually trying to reach and connect with and give them something. What kind of content? Like, what are you going to write about? How do you write? Do you think that's will that resonate with people? Again, kind of the format of the content is just related to pictures. And then I think the most important one here is that if you decide that this is something you want to do, that this is important to you, and it's totally okay if it's not, if you're going to go do it, you got to go do it. And you have to be really intentional. You have to lay out, I'm going to be a part of this. I'm going to commit to it for a long period of time, it does not happen in one message. You don't go out there and think, this is going to be one great post. This is going to be perfect. People are going to love this. It's going to blow up. It's going to go viral. It's not. It's just not going to go do that. It's about putting in a lot of work because you're building up your own personal brand. You're doing it for your business. So you have to be active at it. And you have to say, I'm going to be committed to it in this one platform. Again, like I said earlier, I'm not the kind of person that says it's got to be a certain frequency, it's got to be a certain number of posts and a certain mix of posts, but I am committed to it. And it's always top of mind for me. And I do have kind of a notebook of ideas I have and things I want to write about, but maybe I'm not ready to write about, things that just happen in the moment. But you do, if you're going to go do this, you've got to be committed to go and make it happen. And then figure out you kind of use all those variables and figure out what is the right platform for me. And is Instagram the right fit for me, depending on what industries that you're in. For me, and I think for many people, LinkedIn is a great platform. It's still very much business focused. Yeah, you'll get politics and religion and controversy in the platform for time to time, but mostly I think it's really about business and it's about connections. You will get spammed. You will, as you kind of build up your personal brand, will get overwhelmed with business development reps reaching out to you and wanting to know how they can connect and talk with you and have a phone call with you. But I chose that LinkedIn platform because of the business, and that's where my audience was. So I talked about who am I out there? What are the benefits to me and Lev? One is Salesforce, so being top of mind to Salesforce, and so many of my Salesforce contacts and the people that we sell into and we co-sell with are on the platform, and it's easy for me to see those people engaging. And then who are the people that we're recruiting? We want to bring into the Lev business. They're on LinkedIn, and so that's been a great place for us to be able to have a lot of success. And I can go in and I can see at any given time, is my messaging, is it connecting, is it giving to the right audience? And I feel very comfortable every time I go in and look at how things are going. It's exactly hitting the right audience. So the second thing I have on here is just about like being who you are. As I've said this, we talked about this a lot, being vulnerable, important to you. And it's a challenge. I think I say that, and I know it's a lot harder to go do it, for all the concerns about how will it look to others, how will it look to employers. And I think that, and I'm an introvert for sure. Like this, I've got my downtime is when I'm saving up all my energy. And so for me to go out and share with the world my thoughts that are normally I keep inside or I write down to share, that is challenging. But as I've kind of gotten used to it and I feel comfortable, and I think more importantly, supported by the community and the people I reach out with, it really helps to kind of reinforce being authentic and being real is totally acceptable. And we should all be going to do a lot more. And frankly, I think we'd all have a lot more empathy for each other if we were being much more vulnerable and real. So be who you are. And then the other thing is just write. Like if you decide like that's the platform, whatever, producing content, if you're a video producer, I'm not creative at all. So that world, you can say that's why I put the word write. So it doesn't even dawn on me to be producing actual video content. So for me, it's about writing and sharing and just looking and being natural and being really intentional. Those are the ways that you start. It's really simple. It just starts with this kind of committing to going to do it, figuring out what platform, what audience, and then just starting to get into it and seeing how it flows from there. That's how you get moving. So these are kind of like a summary of some things I hit on before, but I just wanted to reinforce these, and I'll just hit on a few again. The first thing is, like, again, be intentional. If you're going to go down this path and you want to build a personal brand for the reasons I talked about at an individual level, expanding your network, more thought leadership, driving more opportunities for yourself and other companies and other roles, go for it, but be all in on it when you decide to go commit to it. I talked about being vulnerable, and truly, I put this before, the more vulnerable I am, the bigger the reach, the bigger the support. So there's something to it for sure about being very open. And then I think that the other thing, I two other things I want to just kind of say is like, when you decide to go down this path and you want to be able to partner with your marketing teams, ask. That group will be very receptive. I think we've got a couple of Lev marketers that are on the call today who I reach out to. Like they help me with images, they help me with ideas, they help me share certain links, and that is a great partner that can help you go out and build your personal brand as well. And I think, like I think where I originally wrote, where I said, why do I do it? One of the reasons I said is because I like it. And I think if this becomes, if you decide you want to go down this road, and it feels like it's a job that you're doing this, then it's probably not the right thing for you to be doing. You've got to want to be able to go do this. And if you go down this path, you got to make sure you're enjoying it, because it does take some thought and some time. Again, this has taken, that very first article was May of 2017, and a lot of work and time has gone into over the last several years to continue to build up that. So have the patience and enjoy it is what I would recommend. So that's my journey and my personal brand, what it means to be authentic, some of the ways that you can start as you decide to go down this journey. I can share some examples. I think I saw a note that you can download it if you want to check it out. Some of the examples, read a little bit more about Lev, and then just start going out. I think another good place is to go on LinkedIn and just see, like, what are the contents, what are the people are really engaging that you like, and then start and figure out what works for you. Just start experimenting. So that's my personal story. I really appreciate the time today, and I'm excited for you to see what your journey is next. If you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, would love for you to connect with me. Selfishly, help me grow my personal brand, help you grow your personal brand, work together to kind of go out there and advocate for each other. So thanks a lot. So I think we've got plenty of time. We've got some questions. I don't know, Kelly, I'm not sure if I missed any questions or not, but I'll just open it up for any other questions, or Kelly, if you have got some questions you want to ask me, we can go that way.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely have some time here before Michael officially kind of wraps up his presentation. So if you do have remaining questions, feel free to type those into the chat box now. We will get them queued up here for Michael. Looks like we have one here. I think we already covered that one. What about this one, Michael? Have you ever mentored individuals to building their personal brand, and what challenges did they need to overcome?
I think I definitely have. I've spent some time with others who have reached out and just wanted to learn a little bit more about how do you go about pushing your brand. A couple of people have been really successful on Twitter who I've worked with. I think the biggest thing I've noticed that people that they have to overcome, and I will admit I still battle with this, is that you just have to accept that not everything is going to resonate. Like I think we'll come up with, we feel like this is really creative and this is something that's going to give back to other people, and you set this expectation of, oh wow, people are really going to love this. I think it's just like, we want to be liked, right? We're humans, and we want to put something out there, and we want people to positively respond to it. And I think when you focus too much on that and thinking about how this is going to go resonate, it kind of loses purpose. You're not really being authentic to yourself. So that's where I've seen people, some of the people who I've worked with, where they've gotten discouraged, and they'd say, I just don't want to keep going on with this. I think you've got to realize it's going to take a lot of time. And you just have to do a lot of trial and error to see what's going to work with you and your audience.
Great, thanks. That question was from Erica. We'll go ahead and publish the next question here, which is actually from Bree, who's a fellow Levster. So hey, Bree, shout out to you. She's asking, what are your thoughts on being consistent with your actual in-person brand versus your online brand? Yeah,
so this is one, Bree gives me some gives me some crap over this every once in a while because I'm so vocal, right? I'm so vocal on LinkedIn that people think that I'm really loud in life and that I talk a lot, which is not the case at all. But people just can interpret that that's who I am because I'm out there and constantly out there sharing. What I can say is that I think that the best way to think about your online, your personal, your brand is, as long as that you're consistent and authentic, you don't really have to give it much thought. And I think that's what's easy for me is that, yes, people may interpret me as being someone that's very extroverted because I'm out there sharing, but that's not the case. But everything that I write and I talk about is 100% me. Like that's what I think, that's how I act. And so when I operate in that world, I don't have to worry about it. It's like when people talk about, hey, when you're lying, keeping your story straight, like that's stressful. So how do you get rid of that? You just be open. Just be open and honest. And that's kind of how I am with my personal brand online.
Great. We've got several questions popping in here. So you'll see the next one here on the screen from Nicholas. So beyond LinkedIn, are there other social platforms for developing a brand? Any other ways outside social platforms to develop a brand? It's a great question.
Yeah, it really depends on the audience and what your background is. I think Instagram can be good. I think where I have to have people that have great online brands with Twitter. Twitter can have a very much more extensive reach, where LinkedIn is more focused based off of your current network and then gradually expanding that network over time, where Twitter can give you only totally almost open access. It's just a preference. For me, I like the aspect that LinkedIn is actually closed and I have to go give in order to open up a broader audience. That resonates with me, and that's where my audience lives. There are other things outside of social media platforms. I definitely have known people that have done a great job on sites like Medium, and because they're writing a lot of detailed content, and that's a way for them to build their presence based off of what they do. One of them, she's an author, so she uses Medium as a way to go out and share her background, her stories, what she's thinking. So there are many other tools. I kind of go back to, like, I'm not a social media expert either. So I can only kind of give you the world in which I live in, and that's why I've kind of focused on LinkedIn, and that's my world.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit more about building a brand within your company? How is that process different than building an outside brand?
I think that how's it different building with building a brand, building an actual, okay, sorry, I follow it. So building a brand within my company, I think I'm giving just my bias off the cuff answer. Your brand inside of a company is all about you driving success, like being successful. And I always tell people when we bring in new Lobsters or people that are new college grads and they talk about what can they do, like what should they be thinking about over the next 3 years or 5 years to be successful, I always say, hey, the best way to build your brand right now is to be successful where you are. Like, continue to drive success. So that is definitely different than me being intentional about creating an external public brand of me. Is a lot more about marketing. Like, and I don't hide behind that. Everything is, again, is authentic of what I'm saying, but it is for a reason, right? It's to go recruit new Lobsters, and it is to be in front of Salesforce. I don't hide behind that. So they are incredibly different about how you think about that. That's, the exact target was internal, go build great success. And the other one, which is very, very much about marketing and having a clear plan on how you want to go leverage that. I don't think I answered that perfectly, but that's something that's kind of top of mind.
Great. And we see the next question here. So this one's from Jared, also a fellow Webster. So hello. As you evolve as a human over time, how do you evolve that brand so that it stays consistent with you? It's a good question.
It's okay that it's not consistent. That's the best way for me to answer that, because who I was 10 years ago, I'm thankful that I've improved from where I was 10 years ago. So if I'd been doing this for 20 years and you went back and looked at LinkedIn, there'd be some, you probably would see some things like, what in the hell was Michael thinking? Like, why did he post that? Like, that's not the Michael I know today. And I'd say that's okay. That's because we're humans. So I don't get, I don't get caught up on that. That's not the kind of consistency I get caught up on, because I know I'm going to evolve. I'm going to learn a lot more about the world around me, and I embrace it and I talk about it and I kind of learn from it. And that's what makes me consistent in who I am today, knowing that maybe something different I felt years ago. And frankly, if I was the same person that I was 10 years ago, then I think I kind of would have failed. So I'm kind of glad how it's evolving as is.
I see a couple more questions for you here, Michael. So let's go to the next one. So have you ever had anxiety over posting the wrong thing on social media? How do you overcome this fear? This question's from Kate.
I think I was thinking about this the other day. There's only one thing a couple weeks ago that happened. I posted something on LinkedIn, and it was a Friday afternoon. And I think 2 minutes later, I went in and I deleted it. And it was content that I had used. I normally send a Friday note to all 11, and I just talk about like what's top of mind for me and something I've learned, whatever it may be. It's not really a specific format. And I think that might have been the only time that I recall I posted something and I deleted it. And it wasn't because I had anxiety over it at all. It was because that felt like that was too personal. It was between me and Lev, was that message. And I was like, that's not fair. That's not fair to the Lev team for me to share that with them and then feel like I was going to share it with a broader group. That's the only time that I recall that I've ever done that. Otherwise, I don't give a lot of thought to thinking about how it may be received, who may like it, who may not like it. And I think that's just about kind of being authentic and open, because I'm sure I know there are plenty of people who have not liked some of the things I've said. I talked a lot. It was a very short post, and I talked about how one of my biggest lessons learned is that I'll never counteroffer anyone ever again. Anyone that ever comes to me and says they're going to leave, I've kind of decided I will never ever counter them, because that person has already left. And that I got a lot of flack for that, and some good thinking, a way for me to think about it. Still doesn't change my mind, but otherwise I kind of just embrace it, and I just go with it, post it, and not worry about it.
All right. Here's a question from Dustin. Did you know your personal brand before you started posting, or was it more of a journey to get where you are today?
It was a journey for sure. Like I think that the first few times I was so focused on marketing. I was really focused on marketing, and I was very focused on getting it right and what was going to drive the greatest number of clicks, and who was going to ask questions about it and who was going to share it. That's where I was. And then, as I kind of learned as being that really vulnerable and, talking like, I don't think I'd really share with very many people that have been fired. I was actually fired by a company. I didn't even share who I was fired. I was fired by a company here in Indianapolis called Compendium Blogware, which frankly, if I had not been fired at that job, I would have never ended up where I am today. So it's kind of my big lesson learned from that. So I think it's just developed over time as I've gotten a lot more comfortable in my skin and who I am.
Great. Keep your questions coming. We have a couple more minutes here with Michael, but feel free to stick around for us with us during networking if you want to continue to ask some questions. Here's another one from Kristen. How do you maintain boundaries with social media usage?
I don't have any social media on my phone, and I actually only check LinkedIn a couple of times a day. So I have like literally no social media anywhere on my phone at all. I'm just trying to think about some of I've got a Facebook account, which I rarely log into. I'm not on Twitter very often, just so it's kind of funny. I'm talking about personal brand here, and I have I'm not on social media that often, which is about being intentional. So like when I'm on it, when I'm engaged with it, I'm focused on it. I'm kind of in and out in the moment. I use it to my advantage, and I think that's how I kind of come up with boundaries in my life, so that I don't spend a lot of time, because I am very much more about like living in this moment, being present, being still, and I couldn't do that if I was engaged with social media as much as definitely as much as I was in my past life. Thanks for all the questions.
Yeah, these are great, everybody. Keep them coming. Do you have any suggestions on how to navigate when your personal brand maybe starts to diverge from your company's brand?
That's a tough question. I'm not there yet. Like it is my life is so like entwined with my company brand that, you know, I've not had to live that life yet. I think that the best, what is kind of starting to challenge me a little bit at this moment, is that we were acquired by a company called Cognizant back in March. So we're still Lev, but Cognizant, I think this is the first time I've had to think about, well, how is my brand connected to Cognizant's brand and who they are? So it's only just recently kind of started getting into my mind. So that's actually a great question. It has been kind of back in the back a little bit about like what I'd say my personal brand is very different than the Cognizant brand. I mean, everything about it, even like the colors of the Cognizant brand, which are very blue and black, and it's just not like even just like the warmth and the colors of what we have at Lev. And so I guess, frankly, I don't have a great answer for you at the moment. I'm just kind of starting just to think through that as well, about how do I navigate that? Because then I'm actually looking at 3 different brands. My personal brand, I've got the Lev brand, I've got the Cognizant brand. If I come up with some good suggestions, Michael, I will catch you later. I'll let you know what I learned.
All right, we've got another question here. How does one bridge the gap on the branding journey from the past to something aspirational one would like to get into newer areas?
Does one bridge the gap? I think, well, I mean, I can tell you, I like, for me, it's like, as I kind of think back to when I started on this journey, I talked about using it to go recruit and hire new people and to help Lev be successful in front of Salesforce. That was very aspirational. I mean, I kind of set out, when I started writing, it was very much like where I thought Lev would be in a few years, which would be, I wanted myself and I wanted Lev to be looked at the best of the best of what we do in the world, no matter where. You know, this time there was probably only 10 of us or so, but I wanted very much to convey to the world that this is where we were going to be. Like, this is who we were. We talked about this. And I even recall kind of talking, and this is kind of in line with the Lev brand too, about we wanted to be one of the top, I think we used to talk about being one of the top marketing focused consultancies in the world. And that really started to change, where we said, no, like, we are the top. And for me, it was like, yeah, we are. I'm good. We're good. And so that happened. I mean, for me, it was about, at the very beginning, thinking about where we wanted to go be, and starting to write content like I already knew that. Like, I knew everything. Like, we were great. We were phenomenal. And even though we were very small and we weren't there yet, now that you kind of asked that question, it kind of, in my mind, that's kind of where you have to start. And if you start thinking about, that's where you start acting like that, you might just find yourself getting exactly where you want to be.
Wonderful. Well, we are coming up here on the end of our presentation this evening. So hopefully you all will stick around with us for a few more minutes of networking here. If you continue to think of any questions or want to chat with us, put any questions in the chat, and we'll get to those here in a bit. Michael, thank you so much again for joining us tonight. As a token of our appreciation, we want to present you with this certificate on behalf of our chapter. Here's a little preview for you. We'll send this your way after tonight. As a reminder, if you do want to access Michael's slides from tonight, there's an event board on the top right-hand corner of your screen. Go ahead and click that. You should have access to his slides. So thanks also, Michael, for sharing those with us. For everyone who attended tonight, just a reminder that you can claim PDU credit. So the PDU code is listed for you here on this screen. And our next program event date is going to be Wednesday, October 21st. Please don't forget to fill out the feedback survey from tonight's event. When you click on that link, just make sure to click on the 60-second survey link on the website that opens. There's a reminder in the chat there as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. This concludes our formal presentation. If you'd like to stick around, we'll be moving into the networking portion of our evening. Thank you, everyone. Great. So as we transition from the program into our networking, I'd like to welcome Bernard Nardi to the screen. Bernard has been serving as our chat moderator tonight, but Bernard is actually our Director of Academic Outreach. Bernard and I serve in two capacities. One is we both assist the programs put on every month for the chapter. Secondly, we both serve as committee directors. For example, I serve as the communications director for the chapter. My favorite part of being a volunteer is how much real world experience I get, specifically in agile project management. Volunteering with the chapter can definitely give you the experience that you need to apply for any PMI certification exams. I'm personally planning to take my PMI ACP certification exam in just a few short months. So Bernard, how long have you been a volunteer?
Yeah, I joined the chapter last year, November. So it's barely about 9 months now with the chapter. But prior to that, I was a member of the South African chapter before joining PMI CIC. So it's quite a short time with the chapter.
Great. And what types of positions have you done as a volunteer?
Yeah, it's been interesting in this short space of time. Initially, I started as a reviewer of the speaker's slides. You know, those days we were meeting in person. And then I applied for the position of the Director of Academic Outreach Program. And I was appointed for that position. And then after that, I think currently I'm helping with the monthly webinar programs. I'm helping with the planning, speaker acquisition, and some of the advertisements on social media. That's what I'm currently doing. So I've been in quite a number of positions within the chapter.
Yeah, you definitely have. What would you say has been your most enjoyable position, and why?
I think the position of being the Director of Academic Outreach, it's what really fascinated me and really made me go deep into my knowledge base. Especially, I was actually starting the entire program from scratch. So I had to develop a strategy and I had to delve deep into my knowledge base, talk to other chapters who have done similar programs, speak to PMI Global, our regional mentors and partners. And I met other chapter leaders too as well. So it actually gave me the opportunity to use my talent to serve the chapter and also to actually kickstart the program. And that was the position I really enjoyed.
Great. And lastly, Bernard, what would you like to say to volunteers who are contemplating perhaps volunteering with the chapter?
Wow. I'll say that they shouldn't hesitate at all. There's a lot of opportunity here. We have a lot of positions that they can actually apply for. And also, there's also exposure. You'll be exposed to professional colleagues who will help you in your professional development. We have a very strong supportive team in the chapter, so that will also help you in your professional development. And then also the networking aspect, you get the opportunity to make new friends, who will also help you either in your business or in your professional development. So these are the benefits. So I will encourage them, please come on board and contribute to the chapter with your talents, and the benefits are enormous.
Bernard, thanks for sharing your insights with us tonight. I definitely agree. I'm a volunteer. Bernard's a volunteer. We're a pretty fun group. So if you're looking to volunteer, please go to our PMI CIC website and select the option to become a volunteer. We would love to have you joining our team of volunteers and helping us continue to provide valuable benefits to all of our members.
Thanks, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So as we mentioned earlier, Michael has kindly agreed to stay on with us during our networking session. So welcome back, Michael. If anyone here is still attending that would like to come on camera with us or unmute, there should be a raise your hand button on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. We are more than happy to have you join us right now for a little bit of networking. I know, Casey, you were considering joining us. There's Casey. Hello.
Hi.
Cool. Or you're welcome to just continue chatting with us in the chat box. I can actually probably start us off. Michael, I didn't put this in any of my remarks tonight, but I am actually an example of someone that came to Lev through your personal brand on LinkedIn.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, you had posted something about the PMO on LinkedIn, and I felt compelled to respond. And I sent you a message, and we had a conversation, which led directly to me interviewing for my role at Lev. So it works.
I remember that. I remember I connected you with someone maybe on the recruiting team, and then magically you were here.
Yep, I'm here. Yep, it's been great. Yeah, so I wanted to just share that tidbit with those who are still with us tonight, that the things that Michael is saying are 100% true, and they work. Yeah. Bernard, did you have a question or anything that you wanted to share? Oh, he's
lost his.
No worries.
His voice.
No, sorry. I don't have a question at the moment.
I'm curious, Michael, about your LinkedIn and just your network and your connection. So do you just connect with anybody that sends you a request on LinkedIn?
No,
How does that work?
I'm a bit selective. Normally I like people who share similar interests with me. Yes, and then so that's the kind of people that I usually accept. I realize there's a lot of scam on social media, where you find all kinds of funny people trying to link up with you, but they don't have very good intentions. So I'm a bit selective as to who I accept into my circles.
Would you agree, Michael? Do you have any other thoughts on that?
I've learned to become a lot more selective over the past probably 6 months or so. I think that I do look for people, like if people want to connect to me, I'm looking to see what kind of connections do I have to them? Are they in a space that's interesting to me? Or if I don't have, I think the people that maybe there's no connection at all, those that are like reaching out and giving and offering something, I typically will definitely accept kind of their invitation. There are very few people that do that. That's like one that I've always wanted to share something on LinkedIn, but I don't want to share this because I know I'll get inundated with it, which is like a tip. And the tip is when you're trying to connect with someone, like giving something. Everyone that reaches out, a majority of people that reach out are always saying, "Hey, can we have some of your time? Do you have time for a coffee? Do you have time for this? Can you take a look at this product?" And no one is out there saying, "Hey, let me help you with this, Michael. Let me go do this." I've only had a couple people have done that. That's like one of all my tips I've always wanted to share with the world, but then I know I would get like 500 invites with everyone offering something. So I've never publicly out there pushed it.
Casey, I think you had a question for Michael earlier in the program that maybe we didn't get to. Do you want to ask that one?
Yeah, so I was curious if you had like a specific story of how an organization that you've been involved with, either this one or previous, leveraged a personal brand of a person.
Yeah, I can say we at Lev, I have a very tight partnership with the marketing team. So the marketing team doesn't know when I'm going to post or what I'm going to go post. So it's not in that way, but it is in a way where, hey, we want to reach an audience. Like, hey, Michael, we want to share with Salesforce about an event that we're doing, or something that's like a customer presentation that we're going to go do, and then I'm partnering with them to figure out like how do we message this so that it still comes across as authentic, like we're out there pushing something that's going to benefit Lav. But that's how I work with them, and we do a lot of tactical things where I'm very competitive. I want to drive more leads than our sales team. So I always ask our marketing team, I'm like, give me my own link to anything. Like I want to be able to show that the influence from our personal brand. So we do things like that, but that's a very coordinated effort with our marketing team to kind of measure the actual impact of a personal brand.
Good one. I think I've seen some other questions come in. What do we have over here?
We have one from Kate, if you're still on with us, Kate. So as someone new to project management, what is some advice from some more experienced chapter members that you can impart? So welcome to project management, Kate. Does anyone have any advice for Kate?
Oh my goodness.
Where to start, right?
I'm sure Michael could probably offer some in this as well. I'll mention this as somebody who is following the changes of project management, especially because it will influence the programs we decide to put on here. Keep up with the changes. It's not your granddad's PMI, as some might say. Definitely be checking the website. Keep up to date with the people who are studying it and are sharing on LinkedIn their interpretations, what they're seeing, what they're getting out of the new material. That would be my advice.
Anybody else have any advice for Kate?
Yeah, maybe I'll help Kate out to some extent. Kate, I think volunteering is one of the ways by which you can develop professionally. So as you are new to the profession, please come closer to the chapter and join. You know, you can attend some of these webinars that we've been organizing every month to actually gain some more knowledge about project management. And then also there are also mentorship programs which you can also join, where you can get some mentors to actually mentor you at this stage of your career. And then consider writing the exams too as well, the PMP exams. If you haven't written it yet, please prepare and get it sorted. You know, because that's one step into the profession. So that's all that I have for Kate.
Great
Welcome to the
advice.
project management world.
I see Michelle has some thoughts for you as well on connecting with other project managers. I would also share that same comment. So I find that PMs tend to work fairly independently in the sense that we don't necessarily work with other PMs, and that's kind of isolating sometimes. So it helps to connect with other people and kind of bounce ideas off of and swap stories like Michelle is suggesting here. I do manage several entry-level PMs, and that's something that we work on pretty regularly every day, is just checking in, making sure that, you know, they're kind of soaking everything in and being a sponge and learning everything that they can. So that would be my advice. I see that you're prepping for your CAPM certification, so good luck to you. You'll do great.
Okay.
Michelle, you did have a question. How do you balance, I think this is for Michael, how do you balance being an introvert and the extroverted nature of your personal brand?
Yeah, I think that they're totally aligned. I know it doesn't necessarily seem like it, because I think it's just a perception that people have because I'm out there. They think just because you're posting that you're super vocal. So for me, like, I'm not changing anything in my behavior. I'm just out there just regularly sharing what's top of mind, just like I would if we were in the office with the lab team and I was going to talk about something. I would just go and talk with them. So it's not me that struggles with the perception. It's other people who don't know who I am that meet me for coffee and they think I'm just going to be just really loud and boisterous, which I'm not. So it doesn't really bother me in my day to day because it's not impacting me.
What's the most vulnerable topic you've ever covered, Michael? I know you gave some examples. Are any of those the most, or?
I think I'm trying to think through. The getting fired one was pretty vulnerable. I don't think there's so many people that don't want to talk about that. It's like a taboo topic. Yeah, it's like you don't want to talk about that, but it's like it happens all the time. There's so many people, like you get laid off. It's a riff. It's performance. You know, whatever it is. And that one, I didn't think a lot about it when I was writing it. At the time, I don't remember why exactly I wrote it. But that was the one that probably solicited the most amount of feedback, because I think it was just, there's so many people that could relate, because no one wants to talk about it, and then you're like, oh, finally someone's talking about it, and everyone kind of latches on to that topic. Or like that was pretty vulnerable. Some of the mistakes I've definitely made as far as like just some hiring things I've done that were pretty personal. I think some and not everyone will agree with me on this super authentic, vulnerable thing. That's okay. I think some people would say I shouldn't post about having MS because an employer may decide to hold that against me. You know, people may question like, hey, what is Michael suited? You know, does he have the health and the stamina to be able to go do other jobs? And I think that's definitely one viewpoint. And I just like, I'm like, well, that again, I kind of went to the question I said a little bit earlier. If someone thinks that, then I probably shouldn't be working with them anyway. So I should be at places I want to be at where they embrace that. So that was something that I still stick strong with, and I'm always transparent about MS and some of the effects that it has on me.
Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good
See
one.
Michelle providing some commentary in the comments. So thanks, Michelle.
I was wondering, do you know Gary Vaynerchuk? You follow him, know of him?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because a
Yep,
lot
I do.
of what you're saying is things he's saying to a much broader audience, even.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely seen his. He's very direct. He's got some F-bombs. I don't typically, although I do curse a lot in Lev note. I don't think I do that much in LinkedIn, here and there a little bit, but that's the only thing I may hold back a little bit on LinkedIn, is how much I actually curse in my day-to-day job.
Yeah, I have a great deal of respect and admiration for how he's normalizing some of these things that we've been told and brought up to hide. And, you know, the scariest thing he's put out there for anybody who doesn't know Gary Vaynerchuk is he's actually challenged people to openly post like their deepest, darkest secret. Because the minute you do it, it will never have power over you ever again. That's
legit.
scary.
That's a good point. But yeah, getting over that fear.
Yeah, that's a very difficult one to do, huh?
So I wanted to ask the two of you, Kelly and Michael. I did remember that a while back there was a posting. You guys were looking for some project managers. And so I'm actually kind of curious, based on what I saw from the slides, like how did that process go? Are you still looking? Are there some opportunities for people out there who are looking for them?
Yeah, I was curious if you were going to comment on that, Michael, or if that was going to be in your slides, because I know that, you know, we have so many jobs, and we were actually really fortunate, I feel like, throughout COVID to, you know, have a lot of protection for the staff, right? Like we weren't doing a lot of hiring for a while, but that's so that, you know, everyone could kind of stay in place, right? And now we've kind of turned a corner. So, Michael, curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I wish we wouldn't have paused hiring for 2 months, because nothing slowed down for us. So we actually
It really
kind of got
didn't.
behind. Yeah, we kind of got behind on hiring. So we are at this point, we're constantly hiring. So we're looking for people to join our PMO. We're looking for PMO leaders like Kelly. We continue to try to kind of up level our project management game. I mean, we're working with, I mean, you all are working with incredible companies. We've got also so many demanding customers. They're kind of global brands, and so the bigger these organizations and the more they're investing in Lev, the higher the expectations. So we have done a lot in the past couple of years to really grow our PMO team, our PMO leaders. So we are definitely out there interviewing and hiring now.
Feel free to connect with me or Michael, I'm sure, on LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk to anybody who might want to learn more. So thanks for bringing that up, Casey.
Oh,
Just
okay.
put that out there for those.
Yeah, no worries. So here's a common topic for networking stuff. Last book or movie, TV show that you read, watched, and really enjoyed? Michael.
I'm currently reading a book called Stillness is the Key. I'm spacing on his name at the moment. But it's all about being in this moment. Because like as I mentioned in the presentation, it's been a journey for the past year, and it's definitely something that's I've lived a lot in the past 6 months is kind of meditation and giving my mind space. And Stillness is a Key is just a great book about like how you can actually live in this moment and be present in this one moment, and just how difficult that is. How so often in our world we're just so completely distracted by what is happening right now. You know, we've got 5 of the things in front of us. We're in the shower. I've been in the shower before, and I'm like, did I wash my hair? Did I do that? Do I need to go wash my hair again? Because I'm like 5 steps ahead of myself. And so this book has been great for me to kind of as a refresher. What can you tactically do to make sure that you're living in this moment?
That is a great suggestion. Ryan Holiday is the author. I'm adding it to my list right now.
Oh, I like that idea, Michelle. I just saw the disciplined pursuit of less. I like that.
I have heard of Essentials. I have not read that one, but I think that one's on my list as well.
I just completed Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game, and I
have that one too.
It's good. I liked it a lot. And now I'm in Liftoff, how to launch agile teams. So just started that one. Any thoughts on agile in project management, Michael?
That is not my area of expertise, Casey. I know my domain. We don't have a ton of agile. I'm thinking about in our business. We have some customers. Some of our super technical customers operate in more of an agile environment, but I don't know, Kelly. Keep me honest. We don't see like a ton of agile.
We see customers that either want to be agile. Yeah. You're probably familiar with this, Casey, or they think they are, right? I mean, it's a very vast subject. A lot of people maybe think they're there and they're just not there. So we're starting to get a little bit more educated on agile just because of that, and like helping our clients like navigate that as their business, right? Like kind of helping to coach them. But we're not, I wouldn't say that we're anywhere close to fully out or anything like that. But I mean, we do have a solid, like core side of our practice where we are doing a lot of development work and projects, and we see a lot more agile work with those versus like our marketing cloud side of our business.
So most of what your project management is follows a more traditional route.
I would say yes. I mean, not to talk too much about Lev, but when you're talking about like standing up a marketing cloud, environment and implementing that Salesforce product, it tends to follow a more waterfall approach.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks for sharing.
Just by any final questions? I think we're kind of wrapping up tonight's event. Appreciate you sticking around with us, Michael, and thank you all for coming on camera and networking tonight.
Thanks, Kelly. We appreciate it a lot.
Any other thoughts, Casey, before we wrap up?
No, just when people are giving us their feedback, definitely let us know what topics are on your mind. It definitely goes right into influencing the speakers that we go after. So we want to hear.
Thank you all so much for attending tonight. Have a great evening.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you.